All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the January 2024 edition of Easy Talks.
Hey,
I am one of the co-hosts, Erika Brown, and this is my SS.
Zendalannette Thomas. Hey.
So, before we started recording, we were just dialoguing about this month's topic and the impact that it has had on both of our lives. And my SS, y'all, I'm just so grateful for her because she has really been pivotal in me grounding into the space of human design. I love human design. It has been phenomenal. It's been a game changer. I mean, I learn more and more and more every day. And I'm like, this is cool. I'm about to go do this. Oh, this is great. Human design. I think I'm meant for this. Oh, human design. This is so fabulous. But I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go do this. And she just be holding the space like, essence. It's human design. And I'm like, well, maybe it's, well, how about, well, I'm going to take it like just there. And for me, like the reason why I want to highlight that and I want to share that is because sometimes the things that are for us, we can't see it. And so just having that gratitude for somebody in my life that can hold that space for me when I'm running around and I'm just like, whenever I breathe and I come to my center, she's just right there patiently waiting for me to be like, okay, you ready? Okay, time, right? So yeah, I just wanted to start out by shouting you out, sis, because every time I run away and come back and I'm like, sis, it's human design, and you be like, yeah, it is. I think sometimes I just get intimidated because of how big the body of work is. And then I can get lost in my not self things of the report where I'm like, well, this person, and well, I think I need to, and well, what about this component? I don't think I'm comfortable enough in this part yet. And again, just shouting you out, sis, because you like you a safe space in my life where like I can always come to and know like you're gonna keep it 100 with me and you're gonna remind me and you're gonna mirror me back to me. So I'm so grateful and I would love because when doing the human design reports and learning about my energy, because one of the reasons why we decided to discuss human design in January is because I'm doing a 30-day HDX challenge where I'm talking about human design all the time, every day. And I've lately been talking about my reports. And sis, like, you were a volunteer for one of the first reports that I was doing. And you're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I would love for you to just share that experience for you, from me saying, hey, you ever heard about human design, to you getting your report and what you've done with it over these last few years.
Okay. So at the onset, I tried to summarize it because it's really this conversation. It's so many components to it, right? And so many layers. But from the onset of you asking, hey, and I was like, sure. When initially starting this journey with you, I compared it to the Myers-Briggs. Back in corporate America, we used to do this personality profile called PACE Palette. And it was, if you're a red, a green, a blue, a yellow, you have these characteristics and you'll do this. So then I thought about a little bit of Stephen Covey, all of the different types of tools and resources that that were used to be successful in corporate America. To me, it's what as you introduced it to me, it sounds very similar, but the only difference that it was about me. And it was about me to help me, not in a corporate space, but in life. and how to navigate it in life. And like full transparency, I didn't understand the depth of it. But that's the beauty of it, right? We do something different to get something different. And which is what we base a lot of our work off of, or even our mantras for our easy container. Let's do something different to get something different. And when I first read it, I was like, how does she know? You know, and so, and one of the parts about it that stood out was how contrary I was living to the productive and effective and efficient and loving part of myself. Even though I was doing all of the things to be successful, I was doing all of the things to check all of the things off of my list, off of the goals that I set for my vision. Yep, I was doing vision boards, but it was not to the depth and with the intention that I do them now. And the manifestation was like, that wasn't even a thing. It was like, okay, I'll get what I'm supposed to get. That whole get what you get, don't have a fit. That whole domesticated, boxed in, and as I've written in my work, my carefully and meticulously curated box that I was raised in. No shade, just reality, because that's what we do. That's what we're taught, and it's in love. But having my human design, it provided, like in black and white, what I felt all the years, even of like the showing up in spaces that aren't aligned, and knowing that I have a response with an authority, and that I do have a throat chakra, and I can say things with intention, and I can get people to come on board and invigorate and motivate. But if they're not the right people, then it's for nothing. So my human design provided me with that reality, which also took me back to me and my motto and mantra of be the first to put me first in all ways and all ways. It gave me the framework. Okay, Z, ego can come up. You can have ego in your design. That's in your human design, but it's not out of. And this is my interpretation of it. It was never, or I come of pure heart was never from uh, uh, damaging or conflicting space. It was always from a space of love. However, human design has allowed me to see that it can be from that space from me, but again, if it's not with the right people, alignment, right? And again, and that goes back to what? Being the first to put you first, pausing to make the space, to be able to have the tools and actually read the tools and know, okay. And then in situations where ego does show up, and it's not because again of harshness, but to say like, dang, I did that, we did that, let's celebrate. But what we talked about prior to push and record, just because it's a good thing, everybody is not on board and rooting for you, even though they say the words, I'm rooting or I'm supporting, actions are actually contrary. So human design helped me to see all of that and be able to use that, understand the characteristic of me and own my stuff, so to speak. Yep, I can't have ego, but I know how to humble myself now. And I know that the ego, edging God out, is what I heard on an Oprah podcast years ago. But it's a real thing. So it helped me. It's literally been a game changer. And then you add just like my Reiki training in the chakras and how they're connected to those shadow parts, of ego and what that's rooted in, and to be able to navigate all of that, it's literally a game changer. So like when you have your bursts of like, I'm gonna do, yeah, but it's always human design, because the way you give it, the way you're able to articulate it, the way you're able to help co-create those plans and help people to see themselves for who they truly are, good, bad, and ugly, it's a game changer. So that, and for the last 3 to 5 years, I said 3 to 5 years. It's been about 3 years. I feel like it's been forever. But it's allowed me to show up bigger and bolder, even though that bigger and bolder is silent. And silence is game changing. Game changing. Well, I got emotional, but yeah, game changing. Because it is. It helps me to fully see myself, and it helps me to fully see others for who they truly are. And it allowed me to see all the misplaced people I had in my life, and I allowed into my life. Also trusting that I was there for a reason and a season. But human design makes me love myself more and show up more for myself. So that's how it's helped me so far.
Yeah, and I said like everything you said just resonated so deeply. And I think especially as Damara started throwing around that word domestication. And even though I read the Four Agreements years ago, I lost the depth, the realization of the depth in which we are domesticated. And
Oh my
for
gosh,
me,
yes.
and my journey of human design, because I, first discovered it almost 7.5 years ago. Matter of fact, this is my human design and astrology folder. um, and so this is the other thing that I just want to shout out, because yes, I am a student of human design. I create human design reports. I do human design readings. I support my community. So there are lots of teachers, there are lots of insights, there are lots of ways of interpreting. But for me, it's important that like I sew into my community. So I buy reports from other readers and teachers and all of that, because it's a gift, you know what I mean? And it's a new spin, it's a new flavor, it's a new way of viewing it and being with it. But this is the first one that I got all those years ago. I don't even think this business is still a thing, but it's um October 8th, 2016. Um, and it was from the Human Design for All of Us. And again, I don't remember who the teachers were or anything, but I went through the report, and I'm sitting here and I'm highlighting and I'm underlining and I'm taking notes, and I was like, okay, cool. Okay, cool. Yeah. Like, how do they know me so well? How they all in my business like that? Okay, cool. All right, let me find my handy dandy little folder here. And then I'm going to take it like this, and I'm going to shut it, and I'm going to keep on living my life. Because the thing is like, all of the information in the report was great. And it was a literal mind blowing experience reading it.
Right.
Reading it. Because I'm like, it's so, again, talking about that domestication, human design is a bomb that I just spit. Sorry, my mouth is juicy. Human design, though, is like a bomb that totally dismantles domestication, conditioning, all of those things. And so I'm like, this is cool, but this ain't real life. Like I'm like, it was almost like a little secret that I got to hold just between me and my report, because it's like the report spoke my language, and the report allowed me to view the world in a different lens. But I didn't know how to take that secret and implement it and embody it and live by it, because it was so far-fetched. And I like to take this moment to go to a level of grace, because it's almost like when I think about my parents and I think about my childhood and I think about the depth of F and F in which I have spent years detangling myself out of, there's a huge piece of me that has that grace for my parents, because it's like, y'all ain't know. And then especially being raised primarily with my parents, which was my dad and my stepmom, who are also people of color. Like, that's something that we're not talking about. Like, and I mean, we are all human beings navigating this experience. But when you sleep, being a person of color in America is no joke. Like, there's so many things and avenues and roadblocks, and like, it's a whole nother way of living and being. It's not even really being, and it's not really even living. It is existing, and it is surviving, and it is by all means necessary. That is
it's
what
to
I
the
was.
detriment of self. to the
Yes,
detriment of self.
yes,
Absolutely.
and that is what I was raised in. So not only do you got to be smart, but you got to be smarter than everybody else because you already coming in with a disadvantage. And then not only do you have to be good, you have to be better than, because again, there's all types of people who are naturally succeeding and naturally the focal point of the instructors. So in order for you to matter, you got to be better. You got to go above and beyond. It don't matter if everybody else does this. You have to do more. So I was raised like homework. You come home, you do 2 hours of homework. I don't care if you have homework or not. If you don't have homework, here's a dictionary, here's some workbooks, and you about to get in here and you about to study. And I'm like, but wait, I don't have homework though. And they like, we don't care. You do have homework. You have homework at home. And I'm like, what? And so that is just that whole thing, like, oh, you did great, but you could have done this better. And if you would have done this and this could, and I'm like, do I have some room to breathe? Like, so I was in this space of one, I look different because I don't look like my Black parents and I don't look like my white mama. Second of all, I was born looking different than everybody else. So here I am, this little person going and having surgeries where they're drilling into my head, they're taking cartilage from my rib, they're doing reconstructive surgery. So now I got this big old bandage over my face. I got a balloon in my ear, trying to formulate all this stuff. And so it's all of these things, and we're not talking about it. We don't talk about feelings and emotions. We don't, vulnerability. Like, I didn't learn about vulnerability until I was in a childhood trauma like class as adult survivors of child or whatever. Like, that's the first time I heard about vulnerability, grown AF. So I say all this to say that these were some of the conditions that I was being brought up in. All like the criticism, the not good enough, the in order to fit in, you have to be inauthentic because that's the only way you can make it. So you be what they want you to be, you do what they want you to do. That way, that's how you succeed. That equals success. Not being you at all. You take you throw you away, and you make this no real life, sis. Like
I know.
you make up this persona, you make up all of these things, and then that's what you give the world. And then when we come home, it's not like we take the mask off, like we chilling, but we ain't talking, and we're not talking about God, the Bible, sports, or my education. It wasn't nothing else to talk about. So, and then I have this other person who is my mom, bless her heart. She all the way woke. She's like this wanderer. She's mystical. She's a Reiki master, and she going to hell. So I'm like, man, I don't want to be nothing like her because I'm trying to figure out how can I share space with her when she is bad, she is evil, she is witchy, she is these things, but she's my mom and I love her. But like, you're going to hell, and like, I don't want you to go to hell, mom. Like, I want you to come up to heaven with me where all the good Christians go. But you gotta do these things, and you just gotta do what they tell you to do the right way, mom, and then you can come to heaven too, right? And then on top of trauma, like being sexually assaulted and sexually molested and just putting it out there, and we're not talking about it though, right? So we're not talking about being different, we're not talking about being trained to be someone who I'm not just so that way other people can like me. We're not talking about the trauma that's happening in my body as a little girl in kindergarten, and then again in first grade, and then multiple. And now I'm just in this body and I'm like trying to figure out the world. So the depth of the domestication, navigating that when it's like, you're wrong. So why would I want to know me and understand me when me is bad and me is wrong and me is never good enough? On top of like, why does my body react this way? What are these thoughts? Like what in the actual act? So now you take this cluster F of a person and you slap an 18 on them and say, run off to the races.
You're grown.
Right. And then so I'm like, okay, I'm grown. Now I go to college. So because I was smart enough and all of the studying got me somewhere because I got into all the colleges I applied to. And so now I drive myself all by myself with my car packed of stuff up to Wayne State University. And I'm like, here we go. By myself. I don't have no parents coming with me, dropping me off, helping me move in, none of that. Luckily, my roommate was someone I'd been sharing space with since middle school. So her family welcomed me in. They helped me unpack. They helped me get situated, all of the things. But within 3 months, I was being escorted off Wayne State property by Detroit Public Safety and had caught my first couple cases. So I share all this to share again, like, sis, like we just out here like I don't know. And now I'm homeless. I'm living in a shelter. Like what? And the homelessness didn't come first. First came more fire and burning and blowing stuff up because I'm like just this walking shell. Just at this point, like F everything, everybody, F the world. Just F it all. And so I know that I'm not alone in this. And sis, I know based on what you said, you shared your own story of like figuring like survival. That's really like that's it. It's surviving while not trying not to die. And in some cases, trying to die because you're like, what's the point in this? Like, what I don't what and then on top of mental health stuff, because again, when I was diagnosed with depression at 14, it was of the devil. It was of the devil. So I'm not getting the real help I need because even if I'm going to therapy, I'm so closed off. And my parents are telling me depression isn't real. And I'm like, well, I I feel I don't know. But then even too, we couldn't have conversations about how I feel. It was just like, what in the F is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And I don't, so when I share about this grace, I don't say any of this to knock my parents at all. I say it to be like, this was my starting ground. So in 2016, when I saw this report and I saw like this opening of another way that life could truly be lived if I lived as myself, that has been a whole journey for me in navigating like what's really mine. Like what's really mine, not what I was told, not the conditioning, not the oh you too white, you talk like a white girl, you got white people hair, you got and I'm like, what like oh, people coming up to me and being like, "What are you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" But I'm a person. They're like, "No, like, what are you? You foreign." I'm like, I was born in America, like, and even if I wasn't, that's okay. But like, I don't know what foreign. I don't know what that means. Like, I'm just me. I'm mixed. Like, no, like people coming up talking to me in Spanish, like telling me I'm Hispanic, and no knock. I love the Latinx community, but it's not me. So like just all of that, sis. And I would love, I mean, I know we're gonna go somewhere else, but this is what's coming up. So I just want us to be here. Please share like for you, and again, no knock towards anybody, but your experience of like growing up and coming into the world and before HD.
I'll tell you this. I've always been when I say different, it's not like I think the term is used now. I've always been my own individual. I've always had my own flair, and I am grateful that I was raised by a mother who she saw the awesomeness in what is coming into fruition in my life before I did. So I'm grateful. And of course I didn't know this or think about this then. But since I've been home, and I told her, I think it was yesterday, my mother has always been her own individual. She's always done things that have blown my mind. Even though I thought she was, mean growing up and, all of the things that we think about parents. But I learned very much from her to be an individual, embrace who I am, the gifts I've had, the gifts that are still in there, waiting to be birthed and brought to light. But I had to get out of my own way. I had to see that within myself first. I can talk about the domestication and I can talk about all of those things, but it's applying those other, those 4 principles along with that, not making assumptions, not taking things personally, always doing my best. And did I miss one? Don't take it personal. Don't make assumptions.
Be
Always do my best. And say what?
Be impeccable with your words.
And mind and actions. I always add those 2. The very first one, be impeccable with your words. So once I was able to start doing that for myself, all of those things and words and actions of others that may have torn me down younger, the bullying and all of that, it brings me to a space of like gratitude, saying thank you. Like, thank you. Because now it was funny. I was talking to my dad because I've been home. We were talking about like features and like what's kind of happening when all of these children get to an age, of parents who, and I'm not knocking cosmetic work and the BBLs and all of that, those things, but what's going to happen when those children grow up and their noses are fuller than their moms because their moms or their dads had rhinoplasty? How do you build that self-esteem in them to truly love and own and embrace their God-given beauty? And again, I'm not knocking the whole industry, multi-million, billion-dollar industry. But as where I am in my life, I center in the wholeness of being. And if the world is showing children, and I'm gonna say young women, because that's what all I know, right? That's been my experience. And like for me, I thought I was the only one in the world who had a big nose. From being called Ziggy in middle school and like allowing people to call me that. Like, are you really? But you think about, again, the domestication and wanting to put in and ha ha ha. No, but I thought I literally was the only one in the world, even in my school. And as I look back, I'm like, how? But that's how people, that was, my mindset. That was, and then you had the whole Barbie, not the epidemic, it was like that, skinny, pointy nose, all of that. So you think about all of the stuff that I, during the time frame that I was raised in, I had no idea what beauty was because of the standard until I realized that, oh, you are beautiful, big nose and all, girl, and those things stick with you even up into adulthood. And I don't even know if I answered that question, but just as far as being an individual, I am, that grace. You talk about the grace with your parents, and just like even being in the space that I'm in now, it's like my mom would always say, I'm doing all this work, I'm doing this for you. And as a teenager, you're like, well, how are you doing this for me? You won't let me do such, or you won't get me those, da 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 da. But at 49 years old, almost 50, I sit here needing Kleenex. So perhaps right here. Hold on. Sorry, what's that? Some Kleenex right here. I sit and I enjoy this space of experiencing. She did this for me because I have a whole room, a whole sanctuary away from my home that my husband and I built, where I can simply be. Because what I do know about my human design is that I need this space. I need sanctuary. I need to be away. And I'm grateful that, you know, my children are older. They're doing their own things. Everybody's safe. My husband, we're all good. But I have a home. So all of the work that they did and all of, I'm doing this for you. Much gratitude. Much gratitude. Because now I get to sit it and embrace it and enjoy it and be nurtured, mind, body, spirit, and soul, as I nurture my parents.
Yes.
And I continue to get to see the awesomeness and individuality of my mother, you know, and because of the work that I've done, and because I know my gifts, I'm gonna just do one good nose blow, 1 second, girl. I'm able to show up and share space with my mother in levels that I never would have imagined.
Yes. And that right
and
there.
I'm not even done yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But to be able to, because who would have thought that I would have, just who would have thought? I can't even really articulate it because I'm still so just fresh in it. And just that realization. But human design has allowed me to do that. And it was funny. My mom said, we were talking, not since I've been home, but before that, she was like, I'm glad you finally saw yourself.
Mm.
It wasn't, and the way she said it was just like, I knew you had it. I knew it was in you, but you didn't see it.
Mm-hmm. And that's the beautiful piece that comes on the other side. And so even, you know, as I mentioned the grace, and I mentioned my parents, and I mentioned their way of being, and I mentioned the impact that it had on me, this is what I have realized with human design. It is literally all in here. So
Yeah.
that's the thing, is like, that's another reason why I'm able to give my parents grace, all three of them. Because the thing is I had my own journey that was already divinely designed for me. And so that way we talk about the gratitude, like I needed them. I needed every single experience I had to get me here. And on the flip side, because of the depth of work that I have done, I now have amazing relationships with all three of my parents. All three of them. Because again, I don't even think that we could be where we are today had we not been where we once were.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the biggest things too. One of the biggest gifts is like, for years I blamed my parents, and I'm like, well, because of you, you did this, you didn't do this, you showed me this, you didn't show me this, and now I'm a product of my environment. No. There are definitely certain pieces that have added, but even to that component of like doing the homework and all of that, like it served me. I didn't feel like it served me in that moment, and it was a lot of different things, but they gave me invaluable skills. And the depth, I don't know, depth is just the word I guess today, but the resiliency that I now have, and how much I fully, wholly, truly believe that everything happens for a reason. Because all of those people in my past who hurt me, harmed me, did something that led me to feeling pain, today I can sincerely say thank you.
That part. Yep.
Like, sis, like I am so grateful for everything that I have been through, and for all of the people who were involved in the making of me today. And again, that part of grace. So we're talking about human design, and another component of that is the gene keys. And the combo of those two together really provide, like you said, sis, that framework. Like, if it wouldn't have been one thing, it would have been something else. And
Mhm.
even for me, like when we talk about human design, since I'm gonna ask you to speak on it in a second, but like there's something in human design called a profile.
Mhm.
And your profile is built from two numbers that are in your conscious sun and your unconscious sun. And you have a big number and then you have a period, and then it's the number to the right of that on both of those sides that make up your profile. And so for me, I am a 1-3 profile. So my one energy is my conscious energy, and it's all about investigating and taking in information. And so I'm like, I'm the first person when we doing something, I was like, I ask Google. Like Google know. And I don't just look at one answer. I look at like 10 of them. And then I take all 10 of those answers. And from that, I create my answer because it's just how I am. And I realize like, no, it's by design. But there's this little thing called the 3 line. That doggone 3 line ain't no joke. And for me, because my 3 line is unconscious, I'm not consciously aware of all of the things that I'm doing. But that 3 line is all about experimentation and exploration. So
Mhm.
the 3 is you run into stuff, you fall, you like you be doing dumb stuff. It seems dumb in the moment. But it's like, why does everything have to be so effing hard? It's my 3 line energy. And so I spent all of these years running away from my 3 line energy, trying to fix my 3 line energy, trying to get it right, trying to be something that I was not. But the thing is that 3 line energy is still a gift because I have had some wild experiences. You hear me? Like, what? Like, I've written poetry like I feel like my life is drag. It's like it's a scene, a drag from a movie, from a TV. Like you cannot make this stuff up that I have done, that I have encountered, that I have taken part in. Like wild stuff. And I looked at it for so long as such a negative. And even in this personal development journey and in this healing journey, I'm like, okay, now I just need to get all of this situated. And if I do it all correctly, and if I do it step by step and piece by piece, and intentionally take these pieces and create this beautiful vision, it will be perfect and it'll be fine. It'll be everything I ever wanted. No, why? Because again, it's all in that chart. It's in no. And so that's that beauty too of like the individualization that you spoke to, sis, because it's like when I can be me with and on purpose, it changes everything around me. And part of that is embracing that 3 line. Like I'm all like, you gonna Erika did what? Yes, she did. But that's the story of my life. And it's okay today. Like, girl, you ain't never gonna believe what happened with Erika. Yes, it happened. And it's not like that will forever be. But
Right.
this allows me to see me wholly and fully. Sis, what has been your experience being a 6-2 profile?
Well, a 6-2 profile, I had to pull out mine. And yes, I travel with it. Um, so a 6 is the role model and 2 is the hermit.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all, I'm still dabbling and I lean heavily into my sis board. So that's why I'm looking like this. Like, hold my hand, hold my hand. So as with the 6-2 energy or profile, it's been interesting. Because the role model, as I continue to look and because I read my human design chart probably once a week, and I say that no, seriously, because when I first read it, I didn't understood it, but it was, and then as I evolve and as I continue to grow and I continue to mature in just my individuation, if you will, and then honoring the 3 phases of my life, right? So in my human design, it's 3 phases. It's the burst to 30, the 30 to 50 years, and then the 51 plus years. And so I'm literally in that second phase of my life, which blows my mind, right? And so as I look at that, and then I look at the role model, though it is one of my profiles, and this helps speak to it from that human design guru stance. But for mine, the role model is not always seen or visualized. And as I've reflected on it, I've shown up in spaces as the role model, and it wasn't received because where it was not ready. So that role model can be negatively impacting environments unintentionally by me simply being places that I'm not supposed to be. Because there's a season and time where that role model will naturally come. And before human design, I can say that I was showing up like, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm taking charge. I'm initiating. I'm building. I'm boom, boom, boom. Because nobody else would do it and it needed to be done. I can say now, God's timing, right? It was divine. He placed me there to build, create things so that they're there. I'm no longer in those spaces. But the role model, according to my human design, hasn't even come to full fruition yet. That other stuff is just checklist domestication, doing what I can just naturally do. Okay, you need something done, I can craft it, I can build it, I can show you how to navigate it, I can provide the feedback, I can help you be great at it. But is it passion? Because that role model, true role model for me, is going to come out in my passion. And I don't even know what that is yet. And I won't know, according to my human design, into my third phase of life. But what that shows me too is that the pause is so crucial, and the flow, and honoring, not initiating, and truly responding. And then that hermit piece is really what I'm doing now, sis. I'm in a deep hermit space. And I used to think, and it could be viewed as depression and all the things, and it's none of that. It's none of that. And I can say that boldly now. I say it's not depression. It's me. It's my entire being needing sanctuary so that I can get those downloads to know what I'm supposed to be doing. Even be at home. I'm here for a reason. I don't even know what they all are. I don't need to know what they all are. But old me would have been like, well, how am I going to get away from home and I have to do this? Divine timing, divine placement, hermit. It doesn't say it has to be physically but honoring those spaces. So, and then truly understanding in the hermit that in that hermit space, that's where work is done. That's where I'm on the draw. I'm on a blank canvas or building, fortifying my core, my roots, and then in business with Thomas Rose Consulting, fortifying it, doing the work, and doing the work silently. Because everybody doesn't need to know the work that I'm doing, as long as I know that what I'm doing, and I'm holding myself accountable, and I'm honoring that hermit space. Being still, having my prayer time, meditating, gay show, all of it. Using all of the tools and resources. When I'm feeling a little, emotional, and not emotions from the good way, because emotional releases are good. But just really centering in the pause and honoring it, and not allowing that carefully curated old way of being, of control, and really just leaning into who and what and where I'm supposed to be at any given time. So that it literally, because before, if you would have told me, it's a hermit space, and I've had a dear friend say, well, are you depressed? I'm not depressed. It's not depression. Aesthetically, it could look any way you want it to look. And it could be any way. But as the prosperity plan shows, God's lavish abundance comes in so many ways that it blows my mind. I mean, just like, for instance, since I've been home, my mom is a faithful 8 a.m. Mount Zion service watcher. She's in Naples, Mount Zion, is in Kalamazoo. And when I tell you, sis, a word that has been dropped in just the spiritual nurturing that's ensuing, and I live in Kalamazoo. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's just so, this thing is so deep and it's so profound. And if we could begin to raise our children based on their individual human design, and not knocking, our parents or what they're doing, because they were doing the best that they knew how to do based off of what their experiences were. Exactly. And what the 4 agreements will tell you, I know people get like, is always do your best. And I'm always doing my best. And I know that the people that I'm engaging with are, and I'm trusting that, and not making it about me, then you truly know that we're all just out here, and it's not surviving. I don't subscribe to I'm out here trying to survive. I'm out here flowing.
Right.
Because if I center in who God created me to be, and I'm not doing all of the things like I used to do, just the release of that breath, and just like all of it, where it's just a beautiful thing. And it allows you to show up holy. And what I'm not gonna paint this picture of like, it's just like, oh yeah, I don't stress about this. I have to manage how much I go on Instagram and any other social platform, because the carnal and the human side of me is like, oh well, then it's not about comparison. So if I'm going on there and I'm scrolling, and this is just a little self-care tool or tip that I practice or use, if I'm looking at things and I'm having the thought of, oh well, if she or he would have, that's when I have to stop. Okay, I'm done with that, because now I need to fuel myself. What made me think that? Where am I lacking? Where am I off kilter? Because it's not about them, it's about me. Yes. And we all have our own, my own natural energy yield, which is another concept from the abundance book. We all have something that God put in us, that through our passion and through our, just the authentic, natural innateness of us to be able to do, to take care of us financially and our families. If we pause to center in ourselves, figure out what that passion is, create the plan, lean into human design. So you have a guide of what that looks like, your blueprint, your personal own blueprint, so that you can navigate it with bold and radical intentionality. Because when you take the time to do that, it's a game changer. And even, like I said, to take it back to the kids, because like I pulled and I just did like a little free thing, and I definitely don't get all deep into it like you, because I don't have that skill. You the guru. But I pulled my mom's, her human design. I pulled my pop's human design. I pulled my 2 children and my husband, just so I can have like an understanding. But the biggest thing for me, since out of my human design at this point, is really, because when you first did the reporting, you're like, you're not built to initiate. And I remember that conversation like it was yesterday. And I was like, I clutched my pearls. I was like, what do you mean? I am an initiator. That's what I do. That's what I did. Look where that got me. Over 300 pounds in unequally yoked relationships, sharing spaces with people who were not my people, that I gave years to. And I equate that to the years the locusts have eaten. The years the locusts, the years the locusts have taken. It's biblical, and that's my little thing on it. But you get what I'm saying. Yeah. And to know that now those years, because I'm centered in me, I'm trusting the divine, and he's ordering steps all the way around, regardless of what anybody else's perceptions of steps should be for me, based on my own personal plan. It's a game changer. like even the little things, like today is another small example of how human design just works. I was running a little late and I was like, oh shoot. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, Pops, I'm gonna clean the kitchen once I get done recording. And then I'm like, no, I have a mantra and a focus of when I leave a space, I want it to be welcoming when I come back. So that means the kitchen needs to be clean when I come back. So when I'm in there, whatever I do, so I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be late. I go to my phone and I get a message from you. Hey Z, let's do 10:45. I'm like, yes. I didn't even have to say anything because the old me would have been like, well, Erika, da, 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 da. But if I allow for flow, everything will be. It will be. And that's just one step, but that little one thing with the not
Mhm.
initiating and allowing for a response, sis, stuff works out for me in ways I had never imagined by simply shutting the hell up and responding
Yeah. And
and
it's that
not feeling like I gotta be right out the gate. It's a
exactly.
game changer. It's a game changer. And like I said, when you first told me that, I was like, but that was my domestication.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I meant when I was referring to like people who are just like they're surviving. And the thing is,
Yeah,
there are so many people out here who literally are just trying to survive. And that is why I get so passionate about human design because I'm like, hey, hey, over here. There is a whole body of work that takes you out of survival and out of existing into living,
yes,
being. All of life is not about the doing. There is so much more that we can get accomplished simply through being instead of
absolutely.
thinking we always got to be over here doing the most at all times. And that's the beautiful piece too. Is like when we think about human design, there's 5 different types. So you have a reflector, and a reflector, they're the people who they reflect back. They reflect back what they see. They reflect back what they experience. They reflect back what they feel. They are our barometers who are like, hey, things are looking really good. Things are fully out of pocket. This area needs attention immediately. That is the gift of the reflector. Then we have our manifestors. Our manifestors are our initiators. They're the ones who get these divine downloads and then they shoot and they're like, okay, this is what's happening. We need this, and this done. Here you go. Let's make it happen. When that's done, they chill, they fall back until that next divine download. But that's how they work. Like they're those people who just like, hey, this is the work. And then we as generators, we get to respond and be like, oh, this is going on. Come here either to the emotional or to the sacral and be like, okay, what's next? Great. Then we have our blend, which is you, sis, the hybrid, which is that generator and that manifesting generator. I'm sorry, the manifestor and the generator combined together creates the MG. But the thing is with the MG is that not all MGs are created the same. So some MGs have a little bit more manifesting energy in them where they get to respond and then initiate. And then you have other MGs who are meant to just simply respond. And then as they're responding, they initiate by informing and telling their partners, like, hey, this is what's going on. I need to inform you of what's up. Things are about to look different. I'm not asking you for your permission. I'm just letting you know this is what's going on because I'm about to take off and go. Because as a generator, that energy, whether you are MG or a regular generator, we are the doers. We're the goers. We're the ones, when you talk about an energizer bunny just going and going and going, that's us. But again, with the MGs, they're not always cut like that. So that's why it's so beautiful knowing the types because it's like, and oh, I'm sorry, and then we have the projector. And the projector, like they're the leaders, they're the visionaries, they're the ones, the way that their minds work are so beautiful. Like they know the divine placement, they know how things organically will work. Like projectors, y'all, and as a generator, projectors are a gift to us because the way that they see the world and the way that they're able to ask the questions and just sharing that space with them. But the thing is out of those 5 types, only 1.5 are meant to be cut like the Energizer Bunny. Going, 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 going. And if they are going without being lit up, they're going into a hole. They're
Yeah.
going into burnout. They're going, and the thing about generators, and again, speaking from experience, we don't burn out regular. Like we burn out, we in the bed, incapacitated, can't do nothing, we have no service at all because we're done. And
Yeah.
so that's the beauty, is like knowing, like, if you're a manifester, you don't have to work 12s. Matter of fact, it's not in alignment for you to be working no 12-hour shifts. As a projector, you know, but there's a way to use your energy. You guys are like, projectors are lit up. You got about 3 to 5 hours. They are just phenomenal. And then it's time for them to rest. And so when we think about 40-hour work weeks and 12-hour shifts, and it's not even set up to be in service, it's set up for domestication. That's why knowing your design, and not just, you got your profile, you got your type, you got your authority, but then we also have centers and gates and channels that help us to show up as our individual self, because not all MGs are created the same. Not all generators are created the same. Not all defined head centers and undefined emotional solar plexuses are defined the same. We're not meant to all do the same thing. But like you said, sis, we all are created with a purpose. We are all created on purpose. And when we can attune, and when we can align with our true, authentic, organic self, that is when, that's it. Like, I don't even have the words, because that is beauty. That is utopia. That is what is possible. But
That is life by human design.
that part, and it's like, we get to have we get to have all that we desire. But for even somebody like me, for years, I've spent those years desiring a life that wasn't even for me, but it was the way we do it. It was success. It was abundance. It was acceptance. It was worthiness. This is what it looks like. Here you go. You pick and you replicate. No, like,
But think about even how we parent, because I can think about myself, as I was raising the kids, and I was like, oh, you do this just like me, or you do this just like your dad, or you do this just like my granddad, or you do this like my grandma, or you do this like my mom. How about you're just like you? And it took me like being in this human design process to learning thyself. And then, of course, hearing my mom say, well, I always knew you had it in you. When I wrote my first book, I knew you would be an author. And like, as I talk about, because I have some other books in me that are brewing and working on, I'm really excited. That's all I'll say. Because I don't even know what it all will be, but just gratitude, right? But to hear because I know this may be good information for your next book or your next project. It's like, just, sis, it's a game changer. It is. I mean, and the little things, like, so when you talk about human design, and I just looked down at my report, and you talk about strategy to respond, and then the not self theme, frustration, right? So like, and then having an emotional solar plexus. Old me, a thought comes because I'm feeling excited about something. I'm gonna pick up the phone. Hey, let's blah, 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 blah. Then 2 minutes later, an hour later, it's like, I don't really want to do that. But understanding that that's like a part of who I am. And it's not me being quirky. I mean, I guess it could be quirky, because I am a little bit of that. As my mom said that we were talking, I was like, I'm weird. I'm weird. I'm weird. But understanding that that's natural for me. Mm-hmm. So when I'm feeling like in the midst of something, it's like, oh, we should. Now I sit quiet. Unless it's something that's like, yes, unless it's just but it really is, when I say it's so situational, most times I'm just like, or if I have those thoughts, I go straight to my handy dandy journal. Yeah. So much so that I started this one in August, and I had to get a new insert because I'd already written, because instead of picking up the phone or doing whatever, I write it down, and it may become a blog post, or it may
Mhm.
become a topic for, a chapter in a book, but it's me flowing and feeling the emotions of everything that is
Yeah.
flowing through my emotional AF solar plexus.
Yes.
But it allows me to feel it because part of that feeling allows me to respond and not have frustration because I'm doing it authentically and what's you know, natural for me. So I'm telling you, if I know I sound like I'm pitching, and maybe I am. If I am good, somebody call my sources and book your appointment for your human design report because it has helped me just be um, a better person. I used to say a better woman. I used to say, I'm a better wife and a better mother. And I was listening to my little cousin preached a sermon yesterday at his church in Atlanta, and it just makes more of my heart because he's literally 20, young, 24, 25. And he referenced, his parents and, how they're raising them and all of that. And we are able to have such a strong impact on our children because from a young age, that was his gift. And to see him walking in that, and to know the power of just truly cultivating people based on their innateness. But then to
Mhm.
that human design, just feel like it takes you to that next level. And I'm still, learning all the ways because I'm on this journey myself. But the impact of it is game changing. And I keep saying that, but it literally is. I think of all the years that I forced things.
Mhm.
I will say, and I mean this, and I hear you say, you're just so bossy. And it wasn't bossy. It was me pushing forward what needed to be done, making it happen because we said we were going to set out and do something. So we're going to do it and we're going to do it well. And I'm going to do it at all costs, even my health.
Mhm.
My health was awful, overweight, grossly obese according to medical standards, on antidepressants, on blood pressure pills, all because I was responding outside of my authority
Mhm.
amidst a ton of frustration. So I'm reacting
Mhm.
instead of allowing for flow.
Yeah.
And in relationships that I thought were aligned, I was actually infuriating people because my intentions were so insistent on getting the check mark in the box.
Mhm. And it's refreshing, it's revitalizing. It's home, and I often think about for the number of years I knew I was broken. Like I knew I was broken. I know people are like, oh, people aren't broken, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, F that. Like you may think that if you want to, but I see my pieces. Matter of fact, like I'm on the floor right now, scattered. So don't tell me that I'm not broken. And yet now where I'm at, I truly see that it was just a thought of brokenness because I never knew who exactly I was, but I've
Mm.
always been whole. And I am whole today. And that's one of the biggest gifts too that I feel like design has given us. And I feel like I would be remiss if I did not just take a moment to shout my mom out. Um, because even though in childhood there was so much fear around her going to hell, and confusion around her lifestyle because she wasn't a domesticated mother who checked off all of the boxes and instead chose to be her and live her life, it distorted so much for me. And like what you said about how you see now what your mom truly gave you, I can now see the plethora of gifts that my mom has been giving me since she birthed me. Like, my mom has shown me that it is okay to be you wholly and fully, even when you're misunderstood by the masses.
Yeah.
My mom has shown me what healing looks like, self-healing. My mom has always been a healer, but for me, I'm like, Reiki, but not Reiki, like, that's demonic. That's that, like, you can't, it's only of God. Only God can. And now I see, like, no, boo boo, honey, bless your heart first and foremost. But like, she has held a depth of light that I could not fully comprehend until now. Like, my mom has always been my cheerleader. She has always supported me. She has always tried her best to understand me and hold empathy and grace for me. But it was my distorted lens that I viewed her from that I was not able to truly see and take part in and witness and receive the wonder that is her. And so I'm grateful for her willingness, even in those moments where I shut her down and pushed her away and was like, F you, you abandoned me. I don't know. She was willing to, even from a distance, continue to love me, hold space for me, and cover me. And I'm just grateful for our relationship today, the relationship I have with my parents, all three of them today, because my ability to see me has cultivated a space to truly see them and honor them and love them as is. Like, I don't need to fix my parents. I might not always agree with how they do life, but I always respect them and I always love them. And I know that I know that I know that they have always and will continue to always do their best. And that for me is enough. I don't need you to be the parents I think you should be. I need y'all to be y'all on them with purpose, and I will honor that and respect that. So that's truly a gift. And sis, I'm gonna let you close us out with one of your words of wisdom.
Oh my goodness. I, I'll just close with this. May this message fall on the ears of all those that are looking for something and are ready to accept that that something is within. And as they receive it, may they reach out to Erika Brown for their human design report as an option and a more extensive offering with continued individualized work to help them to navigate their own journeys with their specific profile, with their specific strategies. And that as we continue, and that all of us that are in the space and that this will follow on, that we set the intention to lean into the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your words. Don't take anything personal. Always do your best. Why I always forget one. Be impeccable with your words. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best.
Don't take anything personal.
It's so crazy. And I know them, but it's just, I don't know, maybe because we're live. But no, not refrain, settle into them. Get your copy.
Yes.
Even if you only read the flat part. Really reflect on them. Practice first on yourself. Because we got to love ourselves first. So be the first to put you first in all ways. And always be intentional about what? You.
That part. Always. All right. Well, namaste.
Namaste. This was so, I miss you.
I miss you too, SS, so much.
Yeah, so I look forward to speaking with you again. And thank you for the space. I needed this. This was divine timing.
Yay. All right. Well, until next month, y'all. Bye-bye.
Did I start recording?
It's okay. That's what happens when you lie raw, uncut, unfiltered.
Like, how do you stop recording? Stop recording, ma'am. And it's done.